Hello everybody and welcome to the new Duel Links Character Collection Challenge. This is episode 6. Last time we left off after clearing the entirety of the GX world characters. And now we are in 5D's world at stage 6 and unlock a bunch of characters. The first one here, of course, is Akiza. Akiza is very important for us because we need to use her for some of the later stage missions. And when it comes to her missions, one of them changed, which was previously beating her at level 20, but now it's just beating her at any level, which is way better. The next one on the list is Officer Trudge. From what I can tell, his missions did not change at all, but they were fine before, so why shouldn't they be fine now? What sucks about his missions is that we have to summon like 2 junk synchrons in a single duel against him at level 30, but if we use the skill of you say to add 2 junk synchrons to our deck, we may not draw into them in time because Trudge also likes to thin out his deck. But I had to take another attempt at this, so it's just like 2 or 3 tries or whatever, and you should be fine. While we are unlocking the next character here, Jack, I can talk about what's in store for us today. Today we are going to finish the entirety of 5D's world and the entirety of DSOD world. And Jack here, his missions didn't change, but he is important as well for some of the character unlocks, mostly Kali and Darksigner Kali. Before getting to Darksigner Kali, we are going to unlock Darksigner Kellen. And his missions before involved him being beaten at level 30, and that is no longer the case. You can just challenge him at level 10 and do all the missions. Also, the effect damage is no longer 3800 points, but it's just 3000. So his missions were simplified quite a bit, and I like it. But he was not the difficult character to unlock here. It was actually Darksigner Kali, and boy can I talk about her. So how about we unlock Darksigner Kali next? Kali had some difficult missions against her at level 30, and those are no longer level 30, but we can challenge her at level 10 as well. And when it comes to her effect damage mission, it's no longer 3600 points of damage, but just 3000 points of effect damage against Kali. Or Darksigner Kali, I should say. In my opinion, the reduction in effect damage doesn't really make a huge difference, but them removing the level 30 requirement turns Darksigner Kali from one of the toughest unlocks, at least for me, to one of the easiest, and that's highly appreciated, and also an unlock I was looking forward to before starting this challenge. The next one on the list is regular Kali. And when it comes to regular Kali, her missions didn't change, and one mission that sucks, in my opinion, is that we have to win against her at level 30 without taking damage, while she uses cards that deal effect damage, one card in particular. So if you just try it again and again, you should be fine regardless, but it sucks. It's the same as with Serenity's missions, where we had to win without taking damage and she was dealing effect damage to us. This just is not fun. Let's follow this up with one of the easier unlocks here, and that is regular Kellen. And his missions stayed the same they used to be, and they were fine before. Most of them just require us doing something against any opponent, like winning with 1500 or less life points remaining, or what have you. It's just summoning Stardust Dragon against him at level 30 and winning, which is easy enough. Then we get to Antinomy, and I'm not happy to say that he is the same unlock. He used to be quite difficult in my opinion, especially when he kicks off his synchro summons. Then I am in trouble. In fact, his unlock I procrastinated until the very end, basically because I did not have fun clearing his missions. But you have to get him eventually, or I had to get him eventually, and that means I can move on, because he is needed to unlock our next character, and that is of course Primo. Primo's missions stayed the same as well, and they could use a change, in my opinion. But since they haven't changed, they are as difficult as they used to be, and that means I probably have to try this a few times until I can clear all of his unlocked missions and get Primo. With this, we already unlocked all the characters we can get at 5D's World Stage 6, which means we have to make it to Stage 10 eventually here. So at Stage 10 we will be able to get the remaining 6 characters in this world. Those include, of course, Leo, Luna, Aporia, Zone, Paradox, and Darksigner Rex. Wait a minute, can't we unlock Leo until we hit Stage 11? So why am I talking about Stage 10? Also, same goes for Luna, of course, and for Aporia, since Aporia needs to unlock Leo first. Well, you see, they changed this. Just like with Alexis in GX World, he is no longer a Stage 11 character but can be unlocked at Stage 10. And in fact, once I make it to Stage 10, he is the first character I want to get, because he needs to win quite a few duels in order to make Luna's missions appear, because she is a hidden character and the requirement is that Leo wins a few duels. And if you recall correctly from before, it was like Leo has to win 100 duels, which is of course tedious and takes a lot of time and was kind of bad. Now they changed this to make it so that Leo only has to win 10 duels, which is way more reasonable and way quicker. But first we have to make it to Stage 10 in 5D's World, so let's clear a few of the missions and oops, we're already there. That wasn't too bad. Of course, it's just editing, because in real life it took way longer, obviously. So, as I said, Leo is the first one I want to unlock, and unfortunately his missions did not change at all, which means we still have to do the same stuff we had to do before, and usually I struggle with getting a quick victory against him at level 20, because he can just set his monsters in defense position, he can just summon a monster and beef it up with his equip spells, and then I am toast. Not really though, but it means I just have to try again, and that is annoying and costs a lot of gate keys. Anyways, with him unlocked, we can actually win 10 duels, and since we had the standard list spawns and can just go to the gate for a few of them, and maybe you have an event character active that can be challenged at the gate, you can simply win 10 duels, and that means Luna's missions appear. And for Luna they changed it in the sense that you no longer have to beat her at level 30 with Leo, just level 10, which is appreciated and makes it way cheaper to unlock Luna. With her unlocked now, we can go to the next character, and that would be Darksigner Rex Goodwin. Rex's missions also changed, and they changed even more than Luna's missions did, which is that we no longer have to do anything against him at level 30, like it was the case before, like activating trap cards and getting special summons and so on, but we can just do this against him at level 10, which makes it easier, cheaper and quicker. So, all around better. By the way, I always love it when he summons his Earthbound Immortal Viracocha and then uses its effect to shuffle his field spell card back into his deck just to rip a card out of my hand, and then, since there's no longer a field spell active, his Viracocha gets destroyed, so he basically screwed himself there. Always funny to me. With this, now we can go to the next character, and that is Aporia. Aporia requires a little bit of work with different characters, but his missions didn't change at all, and even previously we could do everything against him at level 10. So, he's easy. If you are playing a character collection challenge, you already have Jade New Belle and Yami Yugi as characters, but if you are not playing, just doing a regular playthrough, which is fine by the way, you should make sure to get Jade New Belle and Yami Yugi before unlocking the next character, because you need both of them to unlock Paradox. His missions stayed the same as before, but they again were easy, so I don't have any complaints here, and that means you can unlock Paradox just like that. For me here in the character collection challenge it worked out nicely, because the structure required me to do all the GX stuff before 5Ds anyways for more characters, so I got Jade New Belle naturally, and as I stated at the beginning of the first episode, Yami Yugi as the starter character allows us to unlock more characters at earlier points, so he would be the correct choice for a character collection challenge, so I have him already and that means there was nothing stopping me from getting him. Also, Zoni here is the next one on the list. His missions did not change one bit, so we just do what we did before and unlock him. With him on the list, we can now get the final character of 5D's World, and that is Sherry. Sherry's missions didn't change at all compared to before, and that is quite a bummer because we still have to beat her 3 times at level 30 and do all the other stuff, which I would like to have changed eventually, because it's a lot of gate keys that we spend on dueling Sherry. Unless you get lucky and have a few world spawns, which means you save yourself the gate keys. Wouldn't that be funny, trying to see how many characters we can get without using gate keys and how long it would take? I actually tried this, but I talk about it later, because we now want to look at the 5D's character wheel and see that there are no gray characters, so we unlocked all of them, which means we can move on to the second to last world, which is DSOD World. The characters we have here are of course DSOD Seto as our starter character and Scud being the hidden character, which we got after banishing 10 cards, which was quite smooth. Nobody else to get until we make it to stage 6, so while we are staging up here in the background, I can talk about my attempt at getting characters without using gate keys. I made it to like half of them, like 50 or 60 or something, and then I lost my patience, and I am quite a patient guy, if I can say that about myself. So it took about like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. It was quite long and I just didn't have fun anymore, so I resorted to using gate keys. And while I was then able to unlock the characters faster, I also felt that unlocking the characters as a process wasn't as much fun anymore as it was to me before, when I just could do the world spawn unlocks. Now, would I recommend playing this way without using gate keys unless you are needed to use them, like when you have to do the cross-world duels, like Yami Yugi has to summon Dark Magician against Paradox. Obviously Paradox as a 5D's character is not in DM World, so you would have to use the gate there, and same as with Yami Yugi's interaction with DSOD Taya and so on. Well, besides that, would I recommend you playing this way, not using gate keys at all if you can avoid it, and only for those specific types of missions and for stage missions? Well, I can honestly not recommend that because it takes way too long and it's not fun anymore. But then again, you can play the game the way you want to play it and you can try it out. And when you learn that it's not fun for you anymore, you can just stop doing it that way and play with the gate again. So again, as I said many times before, you play it the way you want to play it, and that is the only correct way to play the game. So yeah, I cannot tell you other things. Back to business. Now we just unlocked DSOD Mokuba, and his missions stayed the same they used to be, but they were easy already, so it is not a big deal. The next one on my list here is Sarah, who again was one of the tougher unlocks back in the day for me personally, because we had to do a lot of stuff against her at level 30, and without a Blue Eyes deck and the skill Battle Chronicles, this was quite a doozy. However, they removed the level 30 requirement and said, you know what kid, just do it against her at any level. If you want, do it at level 10. And I'm like, okay chief, so it's way easier now, way cheaper, way better. With that said, we can now go on to Joey, the SOD version of course. For him it was like you get a quick victory against him, or a win within like 6 or 7 turns, or whatever the mission was, against him at level 30, and you get a no damage win against him at level 30 and whatnot. You can now do this against him at level 10. Would I advise that? Normally yes, but the no damage win can be quite bad if he is using Hinotama, which he is at level 10, so you might be unlucky there. Anyways, he became an easier unlock, because no longer the level 30 gate, yay! Next we have DSOD Taya, and her missions did not undergo any notable changes, so they were fine before, they are fine now. And with DSOD Joey, which is needed, you can unlock Taya and she will be needed to unlock Bakura later down the line. But it's not time for him yet, because the next one on the list, if we're going from top to bottom, is DSOD Yugi, and boy howdy do I need to talk about him. You see, previously DSOD Seto had to summon Deep Eyes White Dragon against him in a duel for one of the missions, and Deep Eyes is a card you can only get from leveling up DSOD Seto up to level 30. But you no longer need to do that, because now the mission is we summon any level 10 or higher dragon monster against him, which could even be accomplished with a fusion from his starting skill Ultimate Dragons. Also, there were 2 missions for him that said summon 10 warrior monsters and summon 10 rock monsters respectively, and those have been changed to summon 3 warriors and 3 rock monsters each, which makes them way easier and way quicker. When it comes to Bakura's missions, they did not change at all, which kind of sucks because you have to beat him 3 times at level 30 with different characters, and that eats a lot of gate keys. I am not a fan of that, but the missions themselves are not too bad. So it is what it is, and with him unlocked, we can move on to different stages, because there's one more character remaining in DSOD World. That is, of course, Aigami, once we hit stage 10. And while we go through the stages, I can say that there are not many characters left, and besides Aigami and the alternative styles that I haven't included in this video because they were just added when I was working on these and already recorded the footage. Besides all of that, the only characters we have left are Vrains World characters, and we take care of those in the next episode, but don't turn off yet, because we are not done. We want to get Aigami here. I mean, when it comes to these alternative styles, it's just win 5 duels with the respective character to make them available or to unlock them, which is true for Yami Yugi's alternative style, Seto Kaiba's alternative style, Teia's alternative style, and even Mokuba's alternative style. So it's not like it's super difficult to get them, and I could just have incorporated them at any point in these challenges where it's appropriate. However, we finally made it to stage 10, and we check our counter, and we are at 114 out of 123 at the time of recording. Stage 10 has been accomplished, and that means we can work on Aigami's missions, and his missions did not change one bit from what they were before, but they were not exactly difficult before, so it is what it is, and it's basically quite easy to unlock Aigami. And with that said, we will be able to complete DSOD World as well, which means we completed 2 worlds in this video, 5D's World and DSOD World. But are we really done with DSOD World? Let's find out by looking at the character wheel. No characters are grey, which means we have all of them. And that leaves us with one final world, and that is Vrains World, as I mentioned before. Our only character here is Soulburner, not to be confused with Soulburner and Flame. So Soulburner, and we need to make it to stage 6 so that we can unlock another character. But that one I leave for the next episode, as well as the rest of the Vrains World characters. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching.